Hi, my name is Chloe. I am a freelance personal trainer and I train clients both online and in person. Currently doing my strength and conditioning certification. For this part of the program, my client that I'm using is a lady called Casey. She's one of my online clients. She plays rugby sevens. Her position is a hooker, so she's in the scrum. However, rugby sevens differs to 15s because players really have to be all-rounders, regardless if you're in the scrum or if you're a winger. Everyone needs to be quick, explosive, and powerful, and have good general all-body strength. So it's very much an all-rounder sport. Working with Casey early on, the difficulty she had so far was gaining mass, like muscle mass, and also gaining strength. Even though she's played now for 3 years, she hasn't really made any improvements in either one of those ways. So I took a look at her training, and the training she was doing was good. So it was not so much about what she was doing. So we had a look into her nutrition, and I got her to track her calories for a week, and it turned out she was eating very much below what she needed. Even if she was a very inactive person, the calories were still far too low to maintain kind of a healthy lifestyle. So I gave her a calorie target, and that she now tracks that to make sure she's taking on enough calories, and which is really helping with her training. Currently it's the competitive season, and the players are training twice a week for an hour and a half, and this is very much skill specific with aerobic kind of conditioning thrown in. And they play normally once a fortnight, a tournament, and these can last from around 12 midday to 6 p.m. and you can play about 4 or 5 matches within that time. So it's very high demand. They're short, quick games, but they're very intense. So there's quite a lot of elements of fitness that are really important for the performance there. When setting Casey's goals, we had to really take into consideration the fact that it was the competitive season already, and we didn't want to do anything that would impair her performance. So for example, she had issues gaining muscle mass, but if we were to work on a program that looked at significantly increasing her mass, it may impair her performance, it might slow her down, and that's not something that we wanted. So we wanted to focus on something that was more beneficial kind of instantly. So we were looking at gaining strength and explosive power. That was kind of the best thing to go for while we're still in the season like this. She has 2 times a week already rugby training, so we didn't want to work out too many times to kind of add fatigue. So she's just doing 2 gym-based sessions for this program. The type of training we decided to go with was a contrast training style, and we'd be pairing a heavy lift with a plyometric exercise. And the plyometric exercise would work the same muscles in the same kind of way as the heavy lift. Now this style of training can really help improve explosive power and strength, and even in a short space of time it can show improvement, which is the most beneficial thing at the moment for Casey because we're already in the competitive season. The plyometric side of things, basically plyometric exercises really focus on that strength shortening cycle, and then with improving this, it helps improve your speed, your strength in general, and the muscle's capability of stretching and contracting really quickly. And this in turn is what helps make you faster and more explosive. Now if I take you through one of our training days, we'll go through kind of from warm-up, the main activity, through to cool-down. If we start with the warm-up, I wanted it to be something that was kind of specific to the exercise but not overly intense, because especially if you're training for strength, if you really hammer the warm-up and then you build up a bit of fatigue, it's going to cause issues when you're trying to lift at a heavy weight, and that's going to impede kind of the benefits of heavy weightlifting. So I went with some skipping, just about 5 minutes, starting at quite a slow pace and just building that up each minute. Now skipping itself is a little bit plyometric, but it's not full force. So it's kind of going to prepare the muscles for what they're doing, but not tire them out too much. And then after the skipping, I've gone with dynamic stretches. Now with static stretches, if you're doing those before, again, you're going to lift heavy weights and heavy exercises like that. Static stretches, again, are going to impair how heavy you can lift, and also the muscles aren't totally warmed up and you might overstretch and cause yourself some injuries. So always best to go with the dynamic stretches. I've put in 3 sets, 10 repetitions each. We've got heel flicks or butt flicks. They have different names depending where you're from. Some ankle sweeps, getting the hamstrings engaged and stretched. Laying leg swings going across the body, so working the glutes a little bit. Arm rotations, 10 reps each way for the shoulders, and then some walking lunges, but with quite a wide stride, with the hands behind the head, kind of keep it nice and straight, so you kind of get that stretch in your flexors. And with each lunge, just a little twist each side, so the core is also getting some engagement there. And then I've gone with just 10 standard body weight squats, and then 10 walkouts with a press. So that's basically starting from standing, hands down on the mat, walking yourself out into like a straight arm plank position, going down like a push-up, coming back up, and walking yourself back and standing up. So this is kind of getting the whole body moving and engaged in a dynamic way. And I've just said 3 sets of that. I don't want too much to happen. I want the body to be warm and ready, but not tired. If we now look at the first exercise pairing that I gave for Casey, it was a barbell back squat and a forward box jump. Now the reason I put these 2 exercises together is because they're using the same muscle group in a very similar way. And pairing them together is very beneficial for improving explosive power and strength of the legs. And the legs are something, you know, especially for rugby or any kind of sport where you've got to run a lot, explosive power in the legs is really important. So for the barbell back squat, I'm going to have Casey using about 80% of her 1 rep max, and she'll be doing 5 repetitions. Now with the squat form, it's really important that you keep the neutral spine, you keep your eyes forward, and also when you think about where your positioning of your feet are and your knees, you want your feet about shoulder width apart, toes slightly pointed outwards, and you want to squat down, pushing those knees out over your toes. You don't want those knees buckling in or pushing too far out. You can cause damage to the joints, especially when you're lifting heavy. You've got to be really careful with your form. I'd like her ideally to come down below the 90 degree to get the most out of her squat, and to come down with slow control and come up quite fast and explosively. Once she's completed 5 repetitions like this, she'll then rest 60 seconds before moving on to the forward box jump. Now with the box jump, most important thing with plyometric exercises is that yes, it's a challenging height, but it is doable for the amount of sets and reps you want to do, and also that you're landing correctly. So again, you're not causing any damage to your joints. Now for the box jump, Casey will set up fairly close to the box, probably about a foot width away from it. Again, you want to squat down and then explode out of that squat kind of position very quickly, so you're down and straight back up again to get the benefit of the muscle recoil, and then landing 2-footed onto the box with soft knees and then stepping back down. Again, she would do this one for 5 repetitions and then rest for 3 minutes before doing her next set. Now I've only put 3 sets for each pair of exercise for week 1. It's important, especially when you're doing plyometric exercises, that you don't overdo it straight away because it can cause injury, especially if the person is not used to doing lots of plyometric exercise. So 5 reps of the barbell back squat, 60 seconds rest, 5 reps of the forward box jump, 3 minutes rest, set 2, repeat, set 3, And then before moving on to her next pair, she will rest for 3 to 5 minutes. Now the second pairing of exercises I gave for Casey is a bench press and a lying med ball pass or throw. I paired these together again because they're using the same muscles in a very similar way. For the lift, it will be 8% of the 1 rep max, and again 5 reps of both exercises, 3 sets. The rest in the middle will be 60 seconds, and the rest between each set will be 3 minutes, and then she'll rest for 3 to 5 minutes before moving on to the next pair. Now, if we talk a little bit about the form, with a bench press, you want to make sure, especially if you're lifting heavy, number one, have a spotter. So I've put in the notes, please use a spotter, because obviously if something goes wrong and you're lifting 80% of your 1 rep max, and that comes down on you, that's going to be a big problem, and that's going to cause you some injuries and maybe some serious harm. So number one, have a spotter. Number two, make sure you set yourself up on the bench right before you even take the weight. So you want to get on the bench, get your eyes directly under the bar, make sure your feet are planted flat on the ground and that you've got a good base and you feel stable. You want to engage your core, which a lot of people don't do with a laying exercise. And again, the shoulder blades are going to be contracted, and the grip you get, you want to be probably just outside of your shoulder width. A lot of people make the mistake of gripping too far apart, and that puts a lot of strain on the shoulders, and it's not using the muscles in the way they should be used. Once you've got all of this set up and you feel comfortable, take the weight, and you want to be bringing the bar down to around mid-chest level, and again come down nice and steady, and then go up nice and quickly with force. Hold it up the top for like a second with straight arms, and then back down with control. Again, 5 repetitions of this, 60 seconds rest, and then Casey's going to move on to the lying medicine ball throws. So for this one, again, she's going to be using a partner, laying on the ground, knees bent, feet flat. You want to have your hands up ready to receive the ball directly above the chest. The partner is going to drop the ball down, you'll catch it, bring it straight down, and explosively throw the ball back up. Your partner will catch it, and then that process is repeated again for 5 times. Now, what is really important to remember with this one is don't receive the ball above your face, because if for any reason it slips, that's going to slam you straight in the face, and that's really going to hurt. So form-wise, this is something to really bear in mind and always keep reminding the client of, because you don't want that to happen. Once you've repeated, well, she's repeated 5 reps of this, again, rest for 3 minutes before moving on to the second set, completing the 3 sets, and then resting for 3 to 5 minutes before going on to the next exercise. It's really important to always be explosive with this plyometric exercises, and with the medicine ball, don't pick a weight that's so heavy that you can't throw it at full force 5 times. Make sure it's a weight that you know you can give 100% each time you do the pass. Now, my final pairing is a dead stop barbell row and a med ball slam. We wanted to use pull-ups, but Casey is still very much working on the strength to be able to do that. She's only able to do a couple of body weight pull-ups at the moment, so we thought it best to use the dead stop row and the ball slam at this point. Both exercises are using the back, one obviously explosive and one a heavy lift. With the dead stop row, again, it's going to be 80% of the 1 rep max. Both exercises, 5 repetitions, following the same pattern as the previous pairs. Now, with the dead stop row, form is really important. Some people will wear a lifting belt when they're lifting heavy, so that's an option for Casey. But keeping a neutral spine is really important, and how you pick up the bar and pull it in towards you. So you want your feet about shoulder width apart, just under the bar. You're going to hook grip just outside kind of the knees of the legs. You're going to bend over kind of in a half squat position, but keeping your body over the bar and that back nice and straight. And you want to focus on bringing the bar in towards you, kind of between the sternum and the abdomen, nice and quickly, and then coming back down, but always maintaining that good form, especially when it comes to the back, because if you start to bend over and you're pulling that weight towards you, that's when you're going to get a back injury. So yeah, keeping that neutral spine is the most important thing with this lift. Some people will also use lifting straps. Casey has that option if she struggles with the grip. With the dead stop row, how it differs from a regular row is that you'll bring the bar down, it will touch the ground again before you do the next repetition. With the regular row, you'll lift from the ground, do the repetitions, and then place it back down. But the dead stop row, straight from the ground all the way back down, and then repeat. Again, 60 seconds of rest, and then Casey will move on to the med ball slam. Same with the med ball pass. You want to pick a weight which is challenging but not impossible for the repetitions you want to do. So you want to start with the ball kind of in between your feet, kind of like a squat width apart, maybe a little bit wider, and you're going to come down, maybe a half squat position depending how far it takes you to bend down to get the ball. But again, keep that neutral spine position. You're going to lift the ball from the ground all the way up to kind of above the head but in front, just in case you slip. You don't want to drop that on your head. All in one smooth, quick movement, keeping that back nice and straight. And then once that's reached that highest point, you're going to slam the ball down as hard as you can, letting go around waist height because you don't want to be gripping that still when it hits the ground, and then repeat that process. Now it's important that you really try and give as much force as you can when you're driving that ball up and down, to kind of get the benefits out of that. And then same again, it's 3 sets with the rest in between, and then the 3 to 5 minute rest before moving on to any other exercise. Just to finish off really, I gave Casey a little bit of core work, and this was just some TRX tucks, 3 sets of 10 repetitions. Now with the TRX tuck, it's kind of like the straight arm plank position, but your feet are in the loops of the TRX. Most important thing here is not to allow the back to curve in, because that's going to put a lot of pressure on the spine, and you also don't want the back arched up. You want to keep a nice straight back position. To do the exercise, all you need to do is kind of pull the knees in towards the chest as far as you can, and then all the way back out straight. And that will be 1 repetition. Working the core is really important. It's important for general life, but especially for rugby. Rugby is a contact sport. You've got to tackle people, and you've also got to receive tackles. The body's got to be able to brace itself for impact and kind of protect all the vital parts of your body, like your spine and your organs. So yeah, training the core for rugby is really important. If anything, it's the most important part with regards to safety for players, and I don't think there's enough focus on training the core in general throughout the season. The final part of the workout is the cool down, and this is really important for recovery, especially in the competitive season, because Casey needs to be fresh and ready for games. I've added 2 elements. So the first part is foam rolling, and then the second part is static stretches. Now I've put in foam rolling because I find it great, and it's really great for releasing the muscle tension. And when you've been doing strength training, like lifting heavy weights and plyometrics, all of the contraction of the muscles can make the muscles really tight and short. And you really want to try and elongate those muscles again and help them relax. So foam rolling is great. I've put down a little list of muscles she needs to hit. The hamstrings is a really important one. Rugby players really struggle with tight hamstrings because they're very quad dominant, with the explosiveness of sprinting and also kicking. Some of the girls are kickers, and throughout the game they'll be kicking for all of the players. Also a focus on the calves because they get really tight when doing plyometric exercises. The glutes. Glutes again, if you've got tight glutes, that's going to affect your lower back as well as the hamstrings affecting that. The quads, of course, they would have done a lot of work with the jumping and they would have been one of the prime movers there. A little bit of work with the upper back, rolling the upper back and the lats. And also I added in a bit of trigger point, especially with like the chest and around the shoulders. It's quite hard to get in there with a foam roller because it's too big. So I gave Casey some instructions of how to use kind of a tennis ball or a trigger point ball inside here, rolling around, finding any tender points, applying the pressure there and holding it there for a few seconds and then working that area. And that's kind of really helping with the tightness kind of in her shoulders. With rugby, obviously with tackling, all that impact is on the shoulders and it tends to be one side more than the other as well. That can cause a little bit of an imbalance and a lot of tightness up one side. So I've really emphasized foam rolling and also the trigger point around the shoulders and the chest and kind of just as you go into the back here and the traps. And I've said to focus around 30 seconds to a minute on each area. It really depends if you find tightness, you know. You roll up and down a couple of times. If you find a tender area, you're going to work there more than you would if you didn't. So I said 30 to 60 seconds, but with some kind of variation, you know, if it needs more, do some more, there's no harm. The only place where you want to be a little bit careful of doing too much is the IT band, because it's quite a sensitive area, and if you really over-roll it and aggravate it, it can be quite sore. Once you've kind of gone through the foam rolling phase and really smoothed out all of the muscle, the fascia there, and kind of helped relax the muscles, then move on to some static stretches. And I mentioned kind of at the beginning why you wouldn't use static stretches at the start of exercise. Kind of for the end, again, because the muscles are now really warm, you're not going to likely injure yourself stretching too much. And also, like I mentioned, the muscles have got really short and tight from the plyometrics and the heavy lifting. And you really want to elongate them again and kind of help them relax and recover. So I also gave a list of static stretches. Again, I said 30 seconds to 60 seconds maximum. And to do maybe three sets on each stretch, depending again how much you need is how long you hold them. Quite often I advise Casey that you might want to hold a stretch, relax it, and then go a little bit further. So I gave a list of stretches. So a calf stretch, again, the calf gets a lot of work with plyometrics, just to hang off the edge of a step, so toes on the step, let the heels hang down and stretch that calf out, and just kind of really relax into that one. One of my favorites is the downward dog, so you can feel that kind of through your calves, your hamstrings, kind of a little bit in the lower back if you're tight, and that's a really good stretch to hit a lot of places at the same time. And then an elevated hamstring stretch. Like I said, the hamstrings tend to be quite a problem area for rugby players, and we get a lot of hamstring injuries throughout the season. Then a laying glute stretch, and also the pretzel stretch for the glute. Bringing that foot over the knee, and pulling it in towards you and getting that stretch really on the outside of the glute. And then a laying quad stretch, and then again a lunging hip flexor stretch, but this time rather than doing the walk-in lunges, to obviously hold it in that one position, hands behind the head, and really get that stretch in there. And then for the chest, I find like stretching in a doorway is really good, to kind of lean into that stretch. You can do that with 2 hands or single hands. And then the upper body, a good stretch I found for kind of releasing the back, a resistance band. If you hook that over a bar and you grip the band, make sure there's some tension on it, and you can kind of lean back into the stretch and get that really nice stretch here down the side. And again, hold that for a few seconds, let it relax, and then try to go a bit further into the stretch. They're the main kind of cool down stretches and things I put in. I also mentioned doing a little bit of jogging and slowly slowing that pace down to a walk for about 10 minutes as soon as you've kind of finished from your last exercises. And yeah, you want to get that in before you do your stretches, just to bring that heart rate back down to a resting level, because heavy lifting and plyometrics, that really does get the heart rate up quite high.